Clubhouse.
Welcome back to Pod Clubhouse's Press Pass. This is our continuing coverage of ATX TV Festival Season 12, Day 4.
But also final wrap-up.
Final wrap-up,
Yeah.
final thoughts, Jerry Springer moment, etc., etc.
This is Caroline.
And this is Paul.
Paul, I was very excited about this one. I did not get to go to ATX last year, and so I was very much missing it. I've, in fact, missed a couple of years, and so you got to go every year. I didn't get to go, but this year they gave us 2 press passes, which we so appreciate. A lot of our fellow press people like to kind of follow the celebrities and go to celebrity events, and for the most part, we stick with the fan events. And I'm glad that we do that because I feel like when we look around in those rooms, there doesn't tend to be a lot of press coverage of those rooms. And to me, that's what you guys as listeners really want to know. Like, what are you going to really get to see and do and eat and experience when you're there, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to give you some like quick back and forth, okay? So
Okay.
Paul, what was the favorite panel that you saw?
I think the Ted and Mary panel will stick with me for a long time. Seeing how warm they were together, even, they're legendary within our TV and movie viewing minds. Mm-hmm. Been seeing them since we were kids.
Yeah.
And so, but just to see them together and having such a warm rapport with each other. And there's a couple others I would say maybe like running a close second might be the Burn It Down panel.
I was like, you don't say.
Just because of the
right.
the long, I guess.
Well, the build up to it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
because we had seen the Vanity Fair article before going to the festival. So it's like for us, it's like it kind of was a full circle moment because we had seen Mo Ryan for so long. We were huge Lost fans. We, have met Damon. He signed lots of our stuff at several events. He signed our things. It was a really big moment to find out stuff. So for my favorite panel, I'm going to say was actually the Burn It Down, the Mo Ryan one for me, because I think that's the kind of panel that you only get to see at some place like ATX. I can't even tell you another place where you're going to get to see something like that, where someone could speak about the industry openly, honestly, with real information, and then also like with receipts. Like, I mean, she had the actual, people there with her to talk about the things that they experienced. So that for me was very eye-opening. I think as a fan, my big event moment, so big event meaning like not necessarily what I would consider a panel, was the Cheers reunion.
Yeah.
Like that one for me, when they said 41 years from the pilot, I near fell out of my seat. I can't believe it's been that long. And then there was something about that made me feel like, I don't know, somehow Cheers is like, encapsulated like our whole lives, like it's kind of crazy. Paula, I'm 45, Paul's 46. And it just feels like I don't know, like there was something about all of that just seemed to be like, my mom wore outfits that I saw on that show, or my dad had that same haircut or whatever, that made me feel like this real nostalgia. So how about you? Did you have a favorite event?
Well, I hate to double up, but it was definitely Cheers. In terms of comparison, the Justified one was too short. Righteous Gemstones is funny and will live on in terms of that, but it doesn't have the same, nostalgia. When you say nostalgia, it's not just Cheers. You got to remember, like Frasier stayed on for like 10 years or something like that. So that's a very large chunk of our life. That's something representing the Cheers verse.
Right. Well, and I would even say that for us, Toy Story was like a huge moment in animation and entertainment. Having John Ratzenberger sit up there and have his little voice and be like, oh my God, that is just reminding me of every second of being like little. And like, I know we weren't like little guys, don't get me wrong, but we were so much younger, when we heard his voice like that. So there was so much there that it just got me,
Definitely.
How about a favorite food that you had while you were there? If you don't pick that dill flavored popcorn, for God's sake, that's all you talked about.
I guess that's true. Yeah, that was the one thing I kept coming back to. Whenever there was a fan event, they would have catered or I would say sponsored food from local vendors, and this popcorn that was multiple varieties. They had like a confetti corn,
Yeah,
and
but Paul was like pushing people out of the way for the dill.
Well, because that was the one that didn't have any allergens in it.
Paul has a lot of food allergies, so it was
And
the
no
only
one seemed to be picking the dill. So.
But he loved it. So if you guys find dill flavored popcorn, don't turn your nose up at it. Don't say, ew, Paul, get that out of here. Don't say that.
No, it's terrific.
You just eat it up because Paul is highly recommending it. Paul, did you have a favorite celebrity sighting or like kind of like that moment where you're like, oh, we are at ATX?
Yeah, it was the Timothy Oliphant elevator scenario.
That was so funny.
Yeah. Well, because
I wish we had taken a selfie with him or something. It wasn't appropriate at the time. If I had like my phone up in the moment and those doors opened and I just like hit click, like it would have been so amazing.
we weren't quite in ATX mode yet, and so I think our brains clicked onto that's Timothy Oliphant like a half second too late. And
Which was right in our face.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my God, I agree with you. But I got to say, my favorite celebrity moment was actually pulling up to Ted Danson, like pulling up to the valet and he's standing there like he's the valet. Like to me, that was the quintessential, you've made it to ATX.
Yeah, that's
and now
cool.
you're here. Like this is the moment. It was so good. How about, I mean, we've met a lot of other fans. Were there any conversations that sort of like brought something new to mind or made you kind of like wonder like, I wonder where that's going to go?
There are always vastly different kinds of people to talk to at these things. We've talked to people that we can't figure out why they're there. They're the kinds of people that watch TV and don't remember the names of the characters. But then there's also people that, like I was talking to a lady while I was getting beverages at the Justified.
I thought surely you were going to say popcorn.
No, it was at Justified. She was just a chatty woman chatting with anybody around her, and she mentioned that she was formerly in like production but had gotten out of the business and came to live in Austin and was kind of curious to see what the business looked like these days, and so she had come to ATX to kind of reacquaint herself with how the state of things.
That's very cool. Well, so then we met another lady when we were waiting in line that actually works for South by Southwest. And she was there as, you know, a fellow TV watcher and someone who was going to be entertained, but kind of the same thing. Like she was kind of checking out like how they ran everything. And it was neat just to sort of get her perspective as well. We also met other podcasters. Lee we met who we did a little interview with, which was super fun. And then also we met other people who were maybe thinking about becoming a podcaster. And so they wanted to talk with us a little bit about how we do that. We invited them to come on the show. So hopefully you guys get a chance to hear from them. So just lots of different people that we always seem to mix and mingle.
We met Wendy and Vicky, our partners at the Westworld trip last year. We ran into them and sat at their trivia table. So that was also cool, just
seeing old friends, like seeing old people, and that's always like a funny thing. Even hilariously, Cameron is one of the volunteers and we see him every year, and there's a couple other guys like that. I want to say his name's John that we see every year. And
Cameron we first met when he was basically like a human doorstop. That was his job.
He just held the door. But now he's like really moved up the ranks.
He
so
seems to be up the food chain.
It's just very cool. I would say one of my favorite moments is going to be one that is going to kind of surprise you. But when we were at the sing-along, I very much appreciated that one of the organizer, Emily, was there, and she absolutely let her hair down. She was not there to be like, well, I'm here and I have to be like, super, straight-laced and just make sure everything's running on time. Like there was no like anxiety surrounding her, which she's like putting on this gigantic festival with partner Caitlin. Just to see her get up there and just dance and laugh and sing along and start a conga line and just play. Mm-hmm. That was one of the things that I think I really want to like drive home to all of you guys who are listening. ATX is considered what they call TV camp for grown-ups. And if you just feel like you need to just take a weekend away and just play, like you can come, like they had all those like fidget things on the table, the glow sticks, and we were singing and eating pizza. And we touched on in the last one about they did like a Are You Afraid of the Dark, like from Nickelodeon. They were playing them in the Driscoll Ballroom where you could like go watch it. I mean, funny, right? Like you can just play, you can just be a kid and enjoy yourself. So great. And your fellow people who are there, nobody's gonna like look at you like, what are you trying to pull? Like what are you doing? So it's funny because as much as I was telling you that like cosplay isn't the thing for this festival, being a kid at heart though, or being someone who thoroughly enjoys TV and can just be silly, this is for you. This is the perfect festival for you. We cannot wait to go back next year. We are so thankful that ATX TV Festival gives us press passes to come and bring this information to you guys. So we hope that you've enjoyed our coverage for this, and we hope that ATX gets a chance to check out our coverage too. This is Caroline.
And this is Paul. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. 5 stars will help other people find the podcast and enjoy it as well.
Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you for listening. This has been an original Pod Clubhouse production. Pod Clubhouse is a podcast network dedicated to encouraging collaboration among podcasters and friends to bring a fresh voice and diverse perspective on a wide array of content. Please visit and leave a comment for us at podclubhouse.com. Rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast feeds on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can find us at Pod Clubhouse. Our DMs are always open, and we'd love to hear from you.